Well, hello everybody and welcome back down into the basement garden where I basically tend to while away my winter blues, waiting desperately for things to thaw outside. That means today we're going to take a look at the aquaponic situation, and I thought I would show you as kind of a bonus, or actually a point to this video, one of the options that we have going for a very cheap, damn near free fish food, all natural, to put into our aquaponic situation just to kind of keep things going, because in the wintertime they can't exactly harvest mosquito larvae and stuff like they were doing all last summer. So I do sort of need a food source, and I don't have the steady supply of aphids that I had going last year, world-class aphid farmer that I was. So let's take a look at the aquaponics, and then yeah, I'll show you that cheap fish food option. All right. Okay, so starting from the pump end of things are looking pretty good all around. Not too shabby. We still have a continued issue with the oregano that I'll show you from a different angle, and the thyme is still growing but is definitely struggling. Right up front here though, we can see both of these parsley plantings are doing really well, so might just be time to take a little bit of this upstairs. Always nice to have it fresh, and well, if we don't use it tonight we can always give it to the chickens tomorrow, so that's fantastic. Hopefully from this angle you can see that we've got a couple of those sage cuttings down front here. They are still coming along for us. The two in the back, well, one of them, again, you definitely can't see it from this angle, but one appears to be doing better than the other, so we'll just have to see on that. The sage it all came from, again, seems to be doing fairly well, but when I squeeze these dried flowers, there is no seed at all in there. It's a little disappointing, but it makes sense, right? Because we don't have, well, any pollinators down here. So I'm just going to snip these little tops off and let my plant get back to producing nice green leaves for us. I'm sure these will be wonderful when they fully dry, and we can burn them upstairs. Be very nice indeed. All right, save these for later. And then beside the sage, which I suspect you can see from this angle here, we've got those two different mint plantings in front, a little spindly by comparison, but we have the one that came from the arrow garden upstairs, and then behind it here we have our cuttings gone wild. Mint just always does so well in aquaponic gardens though. It is delightful. I think I'm actually going to take some of this upstairs directly for the chickens, so we'll do that today too, while I've got all these herbs going in my hand here. Kind of keep it from taking over the garden that way, because yeah, it does get a little nuts sometimes. You might be able to see that the basil is looking a little bit nicer. We've got some proper color in the leaves. I do appear to have other deficiencies going on if I look at the way these are wrinkled. So again, I got to hit that chart that I've got upstairs, but maybe we can track it down. Hopefully it'll be something I can find a natural solution for, because those are usually a lot cheaper than going off to buy some powdered chemical or something. And then yeah, you can't see the thyme in the back there. The lemon tree, not necessarily part of the aquaponic garden, but I'm actually fairly impressed with how it's doing. Seems to still be surviving under these fluorescent lights. Now those, actually, I'll just put my herbs up on there to dry a little bit while we're down here. Hope they don't fall off. Stay. All right. These fluorescent lights that are just above the shot right now, they're doing an okay job. I mean, they illuminate it well enough for video purposes, but I'm not overall thrilled with just how bright they are. So I think I might bring that Sansi 70-watt light down here and use it for the herb garden, because the 36-watt bulb that I had was doing perfectly well for that Bad Brains pepper, and it's just a matter of unplugging one, plugging the other in, and that setup's good to go. So I see no reason not to test it down here, as it is a specifically, you know, for gardening light. That ought to be nice. Maybe we can get a little more intensity, a little more growth, get some slightly longer leaves from the sage like it would do outside. Because as I've said before, it expresses itself much differently under natural sunlight. I get a much larger leaf, and that's really nice. Hopefully that would also be enough to bring back the dying oregano. Like I said, we'll need to switch angles so you can see that, and yeah, maybe that would be enough to bring back the thyme. So let's just move around so we can see just how these things are doing. In the background here, we've got those smaller sages. Like I said, you know, this one here, we've got what appears to be new growth on. This one here, the top of it actually looks dried and dead, so I'm not holding my breath on that one. Here we have our field of oregano cuttings and clones from the Arrow Garden. This one kind of looks like it may have died off. A lot of them we do appear to have new growth, but it is very, very pale. So I'm going to have to look into that. I still haven't gotten around to adding any Epsom salts for magnesium or any eggshells for calcium or, well, any iron. Haven't really done much of anything to this other than, well, I'm getting back into the habit of feeding the fish so they've got more nutrients and more energy to swim around and, you know, do their thing in the water. But it's wintertime gardening, so I count myself lucky to have even this. Hopefully in this angle you can see that, yeah, the basil is doing better as far as color, but we've got some wrinkling in the leaves, like I say, that I am going to want to deal with. Delightfully, I still have an aphid-free garden going here, so that is really kind of shocking, kind of impressive, and very, very pleasing. All right, let's take a look at the fish, if we can get a light down there, and I'll show you this cheap homemade fish food. All right, so while not fantastic lighting, here is a look at how the goldfish are doing. It's, you know, January, middle of January, almost the end actually. And here we go, the pond goldfish from outside. No deaths as they've transitioned back in, so that's good. For feeder fish, these things have done ridiculously well. Like I said, I don't really have the aphid population that I have in past years, so I've been coming up with different food options. And I have tried this one before, you may recall, but dried powdered pea soup is an amazingly useful fish food. And someone reminded me that feeding them some peas could very well help bring out their color. So it seemed like a good time to share with everybody a nice easy way to feed your fish in your aquaponic garden. Something nice and natural and healthy. I mean, pea soup is super easy to make, so you know exactly what's gone into there. And, you know, basically it's leftovers. We've had enough for 2 nights and then it was left out, so we spread it out to dry on a piece of tin foil, like so. And there you go. We've ended up with a nice crumbly, flaky sort of fish food that will last for a good little while, you know, a week or 2. And they'll finish it off and they'll enjoy it, and then they can go back to their standard cheaper fish food that I picked up at the Big W, I think is where I got that stuff. But they are doing fairly well. This is a nice option for even feed distribution too, because I've noticed some of the smaller goldfish here can't actually swallow the pellets that came in the fish food that I got. So these couple of larger fish are getting significantly larger because they're taking it down like whales, right? They're just sucking it back. And the little ones are all like, I can't get anything, hoping for scraps, wait until it mushes up. Sometimes they don't get anything at all. However, with something like this, you know, as a flaked and powdered type thing, it's already, well, multiple sizes when it hits the water. And because it was a mashed pureed pea in the first place, they can break it off nice and easy to eat. I've also heard peas are quite good for their digestive system, so never hurts that. And once again, we're introducing a nice different set of minerals and elements and, you know, a couple of nutrients into the system here, feeding whatever bacteria and microbiology is developing in my media bed. Because in theory, if they can develop in an aquaponic garden, I've got some decent diversity going on here, so it should be working if it can work, but I don't know how to test and find out if it is in fact working or not. However, easy to tell right there that the bell siphon's working. I have to say I am impressed with the clarity of the water. I've definitely seen some murky water issues over the years down here in my dungeon aquaponic garden setup, but this winter has been quite delightful as far as that goes. If we just get a little more growth going up on the next level, that would be fantastic. I'd appreciate that. Anyway, so yes, we'll wrap it up with a look at the goldfish here, and thank you so much everybody for sticking around with me in these garden adventures. It is delightful to always get your feedback, and your comments and such have been very helpful over the years. Keeping me going, keeping me growing, and actually getting some success. So that's always nice. All right, everybody. Hope we all have a good, successful 2020 garden season, and much love. Take care. I will see you next week.